So I will kick off the panel by asking them one of the more intriguing questions that may be on your mind, which is, how did you first get interested in this touring and festival world?
And she moves the microphone to me. Well, I've always been interested in the live show. I guess I grew up watching the live show, and once you get involved with that and the excitement, the next thing is, okay, let's take it on the road. And then how do you collaborate and bring this together? So I guess it was just kind of an evolution for me of loving live music and taking it to the next step and seeing some great acts, and how do we make this happen and make a great entertainment experience.
I started in the live sound by working in clubs, and it just kind of got what I wanted to do. And I was able to take that on the road after I joined a company called Shoko, and for many years was out on the road and enjoyed it immensely. Got to work with a lot of talent.
I worked 12, 13 years in the clubs of Los Angeles during that whole punk rock exciting time, and that turned into and I was asked to be, my first tour actually was stage managing Lollapalooza in 1991. So I took that jump from this, but I had worked with all those bands, the Jane's Addictions, and all those bands asked me to come do that. And then in 1995, I was going to leave the music business and go be a school teacher. And I decided for one last summer, I was sitting in the snow with some friends at an event, and I said, this whole lifestyle that we live of surfing, skating, music, let's take it on the road one last summer with me. And that became the Warped Tour in 1995. And now it just continues. Now I don't know what else to do. So, really.
Well, I actually went to college for music business. I have a degree in music business from Indiana State University. And while I was there, I would put on my own concerts in the local little tiny crap club that we had on campus, and hopefully made like $4 at most of them, if I made money. And then as part of my degree program, I had to do an internship, and I went down to South by Southwest down in Austin, Texas, and volunteered for the music festival. And while I was volunteering, I took the opportunity of being down there to introduce myself to as many people that were wearing a South by Southwest staff badge as I could, and ended up meeting their internship coordinator and did an internship with South by Southwest. Following my internship, I was given a job there, and I worked there for about 5 years, doing everything from booking to volunteer coordination to band evaluations, all sorts of stuff, and eventually ended up leaving South by Southwest in April of 2012 and joining AC Entertainment, which is where I am at now, holding my current position.
Excellent. You've got some good diversity of background here, which is always nice to see. One of the big focus areas for this panel was discussing operations. I know operations is a big concern. Some of the festivals you're involved with, you're popping up in a short window of time. You're maneuvering from city to city. Some of you are not only building cities, but you also are kind of building the suburbs as well. So if you could just touch on the logistics, the operations side of your world, and just give a few tips to our audience.
The 30-second answer. Advice I got from my grandfather about project management. When you look at something and you use all your experience and all your knowledge, it's going to take twice as much money, it's going to take twice as long, and it's going to be 3 times as hard as you ever expected it to be. So prepare for that and give yourself some leeway. Don't set yourself up for failure. Give yourself a buffer. Give yourself a cushion. And if everything works like you planned, and you do come in half the time and half the money and a third of the work, you're a friggin' rock star. If not, you were ready for it. So,
what are the scopes of the events that you deal with?
Most of festivals in my situation is more of a one-off. Like a city wants to do a festival once a year, an organization wants to do an event, and the festival definition there will be, we're going to bring a lot of acts together for this city, a blues fest, a Founders Day, an event. So you're dealing with infrastructure of the city, and it's a set infrastructure, so it's a little easier on that point. But you also have to bring all these entities together, and then everything has to happen. And sometimes everybody's just on a different page and a different background, so you got to give yourself a little room and make allowances for everything and make sure you get as much information as possible. Just give yourself a little bit of margin for error.
And Richard, you work with such a broad range of venues. Can you speak a little bit to the operations side?
Yeah, we learned over the years. We started out doing one of our bigger festivals was Farm Aid. And so, as you know, that's gone on for years and years and years. And so there was working with the production management group, and within ourselves, we figured out you needed a project manager to start early, and he would call each band and make sure, find out what microphones they needed and their set list, and because everybody only gets to play about 3 songs there. And so it was learning over the years just what to do, who to contact. And of course, once you get the list done, then they're like, oh, well, so-and-so canceled. Now we're going to add this guy. And so, you know, everybody juggles around. But you do as much planning as you can. There was, you know, make sure that you've got the somebody in charge that's doing it, because we did it. Some of the early runs we did, we didn't know to do that, and it was just all day long a scramble, and so it worked out over the years. It just got better and better.
Oh gosh, I mean, for me, it's always been, you know, but really for me, it's been a little different. I've managed to remain independent, and you know, I haven't had to sell my company to any of the other firms. I've been able to do it, so I'm constantly chasing, you know, everything down a hill at once. I always believe, like, you cut the limb off behind you and see if it works before you hit the ground or grow roots. But production for me, it's my background. I worked, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Patience, you guys. It's going to take you some time. You know, it takes time. Be patient. You know, it was 13 years of working really hard. I was working over 300 shows a year in clubs. Never knew, like, wasn't an expert in anything, but I understood everything. I learned how to run a light desk. I learned how to sound. I could do monitors if I had to. But so when I got into this whole realm of putting it, I can still sit there and understand what's going on with production. And still do it. You know, we just go for it. I know one day it's going to probably blow up on me, but, you know, we'll see.
And Kevin, you're so famously quoted as talking about taking the city, building it, and then tearing it down and putting it back on the road.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 1,000 people on the road now. We've got 19 semi-trucks, and we put it up in 3. I've cut load-ins to 3 hours now. Anyone who's been around my tours, we roll in, we load in from 8 to 11, and doors are at 11. And we end at 8:30, and we're on the road by 10 at night. So we're moving the city, and we're doing 43 cities this year in 52 days. So
Yeah.
And you get good people around you. That's the secret. Smart people.
I would say that before I start any project, before we take anything on, the first thing I try to think of is, how will somebody screw this up? How will it break? How is this going to go wrong? How is everything going to implode on us when we're doing it? And I think over the years, we've learned a lot from mistakes, from accidents, from things that have gone wrong, and we've learned a lot about how to adapt. I think the festival industry as a whole has done that. When you look at stage collapses, things like that go on at different festivals, people are learning a lot on how to handle that sort of stuff. Emergency action plans are becoming a huge thing that a lot of festivals are doing. You know, if this happens, this is what we do, and we have step-by-step processes for each and every single thing that we do. So it's a lot of trying to think ahead of what could go wrong and how would you adapt to it if it does. And then having the capability to think on your feet for when the thing you didn't think of happens. You know, when the threat of weather comes and you shut down the site, and you evacuate the entire thing, kick everybody out, and then about a mile out from your site, the storm dissipates.
I mean, any of you guys at Warped Tour in Orlando last year? Yeah, that was a really tricky show for me. It was like, I knew that if I had to stop that show twice, and I knew if we went to a third time, we were going to lose the show, and I had to stand on the stage. And, you know, you just have to make that gut call sometimes, you know. And now you got all these people running around with weathermen and everything. I go 25 years of festivals and parking lots every day. I think I'm the best weatherman there is when I look up at the sky. But you guys were all there, and we managed to get that show in. And it's changing schedules. You got to think on your feet and live and die by your decisions.
You guys are going through it here right now.
Well, thank God it's raining, because that's the biggest, toughest move. I was riding over with Brian, he says they're moving inside. The worst is, like, if all of a sudden the sun came out after they moved inside. So let it rain really hard the rest of the day, so then they made the right decision.
The logistics definitely make a big difference when it comes to the festival side of things, looking at where to locate, looking at how to do marketing, and also dealing with some of those operational challenges. And James, you had mentioned how you see so many emergency action plans and so many different things that build into operations. Are there any must-haves that students should consider as far as planning for what hopefully will never occur. We've learned a lot, and we've seen a lot of media coverage with some of the accidents and such, but what are some things that don't necessarily break the news dealing with operations, but are necessary to make sure it's a safe and sound festival?
Well, I think, a lot of the stuff that we look at is our situations are always different depending on what festival we're doing. If you look at like the Gentleman of the Road event that we did here in St. Augustine, that was a unique site that we'd never done a festival on. So we didn't have any time to really figure it out. We had to kind of build it as we went. And that took a lot of foresight into what's going on. So good relationships with the city are probably the biggest thing for when you're taking an event into a city is finding out who your city contacts are and getting on their good side. Because nobody will ruin your day worse than a fire marshal.
And if you want to realize, there was a festival last year called Bottle Rock, if you want to read about how not to do a festival. They did everything possibly wrong. To do with that festival. They didn't get the city on their side. They didn't listen to anyone. They tried to hire. And if you want to be a consultant, I think people hire consultants because they want them to tell them exactly what they wanted to hear. I told the guy he was nuts to go the way he was, and I never heard back from him. So, but read about Bottle Rock. You need the good and bad. These guys, Bonnaroo has really done a fantastic job and with the community there. You guys are so in bed with, just grew that relationship. Coachella built a city with the community. This guy, look at the good and the bad, and then you'll get why these guys are around as long as they are, or Coachella and those.
Yeah, I think when Bonnaroo happens, we become the 7th largest city in the state of Tennessee. Overnight. Yeah. Have you ever been to Manchester, Tennessee when Bonnaroo's not going on?
Pretty quick drive.
You can get through pretty fast. There's the Walmart stays. It's not just a temporary thing that we put up. It's really there all the time. and other than that, some mid-level quality Mexican food for Tennessee.
Well, one of the things I know is a few of the aspiring artists would like to know is what's the magic secret? That lineup definitely, as Richard had mentioned, can sometimes be a challenge and transition. A great stage show is the most obvious thing, perfecting the art, perfecting that stage show to be able to draw and hold a crowd. But what else do you look for in your unique festivals to try and find folks who will be a good fit?
You're talking lineup specifically? Obviously Bonnaroo has developed quite a bit since we started it. We really started with Widespread Panic. That's what started Bonnaroo. Really, they were the first band to agree to do it. When we came to them, we said we have this concept for a music festival. Would you guys be willing to anchor it? And those guys used their connections and their friends, and that's sort of what really built the first Bonnaroo lineup. Since then, we've had to adapt. If we tried to keep doing Bonnaroo at 70,000 to 85,000 people per day with only primarily jam bands and specifically, that certain genre of music, Bonnaroo would not still be around. We've had to adapt. So we started bringing in different genres of music. We started looking at our audience and noticing that they didn't just listen to that style of music, that there are new genres of music constantly coming out, and it's constantly developing, and different technologies are coming out, different stage setups, different lighting programs, all that sort of stuff. So we start looking at to diversify ourselves. And we start looking at what acts are out there that are doing something new, that are doing something unique, that are doing something that our fans will be really into. And I think, you can't say one specific genre is better than another or anything like that. It's how passionate are you about what you do? What is your project? How hard are you working on it? I can speak better to the booking process at South by Southwest for up-and-coming bands, simply because that's the majority of their lineup. It's all the big bands that get the press and everything like that. But the smaller bands that are coming up, when I was booking there, it was how hard are you working on your own career? Not just are you a good musician? Because there are a lot of really good musicians out there. There are a lot of really talented people out there making music. But what else are you doing? Do you have a social media campaign going on? Do you have any sort of level of management? Do you have anybody out there working your music for you? Or is it just you? Do you tour? Do you play out? Do you ever gig shows? Do you ever, are you recording music at all? Those sort of things became a bigger deal than just, is this person really good? Because a lot of people are good. How hard are you working to get beyond being a good musician? and getting your music out there to really broaden your fan base.
Okay. I mean, mine, it's changed. You know, it's always, 20 years. This is our 20th anniversary for Warped Tour, so pretty stoked on that. But it was booked a different way back then. It was like my friends, Pennywise. Those were my peers. Pennywise, Bad Religion, No Effects. They were all my friends. And I got them to go on this tour with me because they trusted me. Now, I just sit back, and it's weird because it's weird to get to this point. I'm getting older, but I love it. But I'm curating it for you guys now. This festival is being curated, the Warped Tour. But when I look at it now, there's only one record label that I do business with that existed on a regular basis. I don't really deal with majors, it's all indies. So, Epitaph Records was the only record label that existed before Warped Tour. So now and most of those record labels started with a table at the Warped Tour and built their brands, and they're all now the owners, and we're all friends, but it's changed, and it's awesome because we sit around in September and October and we listen to music again. And you guys, all I have to do is put it on, who do you want to see on Warped Tour? And 157,000 of you in a week tell me who I should put on Warped Tour.
Everybody tells us what to do.
And I still sit at the front of the lines. I've probably said hi to, but seeing me out there. I walk the lines, and mostly I'm looking at the shirts on you guys are wearing, and I'm looking at some of you guys' shirts right now going, that's who they want to see on my tour. Everyone goes, how did you do it? I go, I walk the line and see who I forgot to put on this summer for next summer. Mm-hmm. And it's really an awesome time now but really where Warped Tour is now is I'm in a weird business because I'm trying to develop new headliners. So with Warped Tour, it's bands that work hard, the labels that are going to get behind them, the people I like to deal with. I'm at that point in my life. I don't have to deal with people that I don't like. And I can help them develop. So that's why you'll see bands on Warped Tour 2-3 years in a row. When I brought A Day to Remember out 3 years in a row, moved them up. Sleeping with Sirens up on the stage. Paramore brought them out for 3 full years before before they really hit. And I'm in that process now, just trying to do, and you know what, if you come out on my tour now and it's not working and I don't see it working for you and I can get that feeling, you know what, probably not gonna get, I want to develop headliners. And I want my friends to stay in business. I want indie record labels to be the strongest again as they are, and they, Hopeless is the Fearless, the Rise, they all kick ass for their bands. And it's awesome for you guys. It's the best time to get in the music business right now. People, you hear all the negative stuff, but it's great because you are developing and creating it. The whole playing field's wide open. And I'm learning constantly and I'm trying to stay ahead of you guys. But I'm also trying to be nice to you guys because I want to be the one old guy that you let stay around.
Lineup. I think for what I do, and it's usually genre-driven, is looking at the genre and looking at the levels. You have international, national, regional, and local acts. And there's no science to it, but I'm looking for momentum. An artist that has momentum. Even if you have to go to Polestar, look at Polestar. Where are they playing? What type of venues are they selling out? What's their ticket price? Because ultimately we're looking for revenue. It has to pay the bills. So I'm looking for artists that are up and coming. And sometimes in the blues genre, we're getting kind of old. Okay, I face it. We're getting older than big acts. And I'm going to throw out a name just because I love him. B.B. King is great. Buddy Guy is great. But where's the momentum in that artist? They're there. And I'm looking for artists that maybe are on that stage that have some momentum, that have some room to grow. And you bring them into a festival, bring something fresh, something new, and also something that's not, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have B.B. King at the Blues Fest. I would never say no if it was possible. But you're still looking for those local, regional, developing. They're local, or they become regional, or the regional fixing to become national. And we've been lucky, we've done that very well. We took a local artist here, Selwyn Birchwood, if you're a blues fan. He went to UCF. He just won the International Blues Challenge. That means he plays any blues fest he wants to in the world. And he's going to be playing Mount Dora. But the idea is there was momentum there. And do I have a crystal ball? No. But you look for things like that, and that gives you a lot of bang for your buck when you're putting a festival together. Because you got to drive ticket sales somehow. We got to take care of that revenue side somehow.
That's the big thing is it's how to get that momentum. And we Beebs is here. Met her on basically a year ago. 2 years ago at the Florida Music Festival. And, I'm invested trying to help her career. The TV, it's all Echo Smith. Any of you watch Warp Road, he's our TV show. I didn't know what to do. It took me a long time to do a TV show. I didn't want to do a TV show. I wanted it to be said right. But now it's just a great tool, like announcing those 5 bands every week we do on the TV show. We're at 75,000 tickets sold for the Warped Tour already and hasn't been spent $1 on advertising.
We certainly build relationships every day in terms of booking acts. You look at it at a festival like a Bonnaroo or Forecastle, which is one of the other festivals that we do. we look at those developing bands as ways to help us solidify headliners, to get the bigger acts. We look at a record label or somebody or an agent or somebody like that that's pushing to get a smaller band on there, and we're like, okay, we'll definitely book the smaller band on one of our smaller stages during the day if we can get these larger acts. And it's amazing to see how those acts develop after they actually do play Bonnaroo. I mean, you can go on to the Bonnaroo website right now, and we actually we've got all the lineups from every single year. And if you go back and you look at it, it's funny to look at some of these bands that have started out at the very bottom of the list, and now they're working their way towards the top. I mean, Adele is, the year she played in a tent, and she's about 3/4 of the way to the bottom on the lineup roster. Now we'd be stupid not to make her a headliner if she was trying to play. So it's those sort of relationships come as you're trying to develop the festival itself. There are certain acts that we strongly identify with now as a festival. I mean, Jack White is one of our headliners this year. He's a big supporter of the festival. The Strokes have played, the Strokes. The White Stripes played, and the Raconteurs have all played the festival. Jack, this is his first solo headlining time with Bonnaroo. And we've developed those relationships to keep those things going. And now we can look to him and go, what bands are you excited about? And how can we help get those acts on so that we can have Jack?
One of the big themes I'm hearing is about personalities and relationship building. And it's one of the things starting out in the industry, you start out humble and you grow to greatness is the ultimate career path here. What tips would you give folks coming into the industry to make sure they don't burn bridges? I know networking sometimes turns into a very grown-up kind of business card game of tag of sorts, which isn't the best way to build those relationships. What are some personality tips and relationship building tips?
Just get your foot, once you get your foot in, when you went at South by Southwest, you walked around and said hello to everyone with a badge. Mm-hmm. Do that. Just get out there, and you know what? If you come up and talk to people enough, and you're good, and then you get your foot in the door. And then always look back. Always be willing to take a step back in life, and that's what I was willing to do. When I did Lollapalooza, I had people that were never going to go back into clubs again. I got right off the road one night and went back into a club the next day to remind me where I came from. And I did Sepultura and Napalm Death. I wasn't, talk about in your face after being on a cool tour like Lollapalooza, But it is. But then when you get 20, 30 years into the business, when you burn a bridge, burn the town down behind it too. Just go for it.
I think the biggest thing that I always say to people is that find your opportunity, whatever that opportunity is. Obviously, one of the big things that if anybody's been on this campus when I've been here before, the big thing that I like to talk about is volunteering at music festivals. At pretty much every music festival has some sort of volunteer program, and looking into that. But then once you get that opportunity, be observant about what is going on around you, not just what, but who is around you. If you're given the most mundane job, parking cars, you're waving a flag. That's all you're doing for 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever that shift is. You need to be outstanding. Some of my favorite people are the parking people, because I'm driving by on a golf cart and they're all doing cartwheels directing me to where I'm going, and they're waving and they're giving everybody high fives, and I notice it. Mm-hmm. And they're noticing who I am, and they stop to talk to me. And they ask me about my job. I always say that anytime you give somebody in the music business the chance to inflate their own ego, they want to do it. They want to talk about themselves. So being observant about the people that are around you and what they do, because there are jobs out there that you may not be aware of in this industry. Parking cars is a huge job in the music industry. It's ridiculous. The guy who parks cars for Bonnaroo does it for Bonnaroo, Coachella, and NASCAR. The guy's got a really nice house because he knows how to park cars. It's a job in the industry, and being observant about what those opportunities are and taking advantage of them while you're there, taking advantage of every single opportunity that comes your way to make a connection. And then once you make that connection, it's following up and keeping it consistent and keeping it going.
I think one of the most important things is this concept of relationship building. I know that's something that commonly is a theme, is the importance of it isn't just one city, it isn't just one location. It's the fact that there's longevity in the career. And one of the big aspects that a lot of folks launching into festivals kind of have to be reminded of the personalities of not only the folks that they'll be working with, but everybody else who is on the festival, from those who are attending as well as those who are performing on stage. So it definitely is something important to note, to keep that professionalism and make sure that you really get a strong grasp of everyone who is there. It's a good way to be able to open some doors in the future as well, which is definitely helpful. So with that, I want to kind of branch into that same theme of relationship building, but ask who your mentors were. Who were folks who inspired and supported you when you were starting out and along the way?
I don't know.
There's a lot of people along the way that you're going to meet. And, you know, going back to what you were saying, one of the things is networking and going back on that. But you won't meet anybody sitting at home watching TV. Get out there, do whatever you can to network, and you'll meet people along the way. But the people that come to mind for me were people like Clay Powers, the Hall of Fame inductee this year, Leon Hopkins, big mentor to me. You know, we learned from each other. We were a group, a team, and that you develop a relationship and almost like a family. You show pro guys will know that, guys and girls. You'll learn that. See, you'll learn that. It's a family, and so that networking and I have so many mentors that I learned from. I can't sit there and just say, oh, it was this one person, two people. It was a whole family of people.
I had mostly bad examples as mentors. so I really, when I go back, I took the notes of all the people that, you know, were in production offices, and I stayed out of drugs. I stayed out of, just watched how they, you know, what was going to happen, and just, you know, but I did, you know, Bill Graham. I mean, you know, I was lucky enough to get to tag around with David Lindley and watch him work. I mean, and it's been a great honor recently, because some of the people that I go out, you know, and talk to, they say, you know, you're like, you know, Bill would have respected you. And I said, well, I met him once, a couple times, and he was yelling at me, but, you know, but he was a great person. And, you know, after this, you know, most of you guys have my email address. I can give you some great books. There's some, you know, because how many of you want to go on the road? All right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the road, you know, but I always have that motto, the first day you go on the road is the day you have to start thinking about getting off the road. You know, building that, because, you know, I think I would have been really miserable if I stayed I was moving up in the production ranks. I would have been probably doing some of the biggest tours in the world right now. But would I have a family? Would I have all these other things that I hold important? But, you know, the road's amazing at 20, 30. It's great. But I got books on that about people who've been on the road and what we all go through, from the guitar techs to ourselves, about, you know, how you get through this kind of stuff. But Bill Graham was great. Bill Silva, he was a good mentor of mine. And then there's just a great group of guys. I mean, we all went to school. Paul Tollett, who does Coachella, Ron Coleman, who had SST Records. We were all in school together, setting up, just like you guys, setting up a little PA, getting Violent Femmes to play for $100 and doing punk rock shows, TSOL, and getting yelled at by the school for bringing punk rock on our campus, you know.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of twofold. I have had bosses in the past that I didn't like the way they handled me. And I've had some bosses that I thought were fantastic. So I've kind of learned my own management style by watching people that are overseeing me. Ashley Capps of AC Entertainment is a wonderful boss. I really admire that guy. He's always willing to talk and has sort of shared his history with me of what it was like to start out. Ashley started out in high school as a concert promoter, and he's, you know, I can remember the one story I always like to share about him is Gentleman of the Road that we did in Bristol, Tennessee, was going on, and I was probably 3 months into the job, and Ashley, you know, the show was going on. I had been assigned to create the shuttle program because the band, it was really important to the band that we had a shuttle program, and there was nowhere to park in downtown Bristol because it's just a really small little town. So we were parking people about 15 minutes out, and I'm literally riding a shuttle bus, you know, getting people back and forth, making sure the drivers aren't getting lost. And Ashley calls me, and he's just like, hey, just want to check on the shuttle. How's it going? And I'm like, how's the show? You know, are the bands on stage? Is everything going okay down there? Why are you worried about the bus? People are getting there. And so I've taken examples that people have given me and kind of learned how I would rather be. More than anything, I've learned examples of great leadership and seen worked with a lot of really great people and sort of taken those as my own of how would I want to be if I were back in college, who are the people that I wanted to come and show me what to do? And that's how I've kind of tried to lead my career as I've gone through this.
Yeah, early in my life, I used to sell egg rolls in Grateful Dead parking lots, you know, because everyone gets stoned. They want an egg roll, so, you know. And then one night I decided, I drove by McDonald's and smelled the apple pies, so start making those late at night. And we started making apple pies that next day. And we're lines out the parking lot down the block, and it was awesome. And Bill Graham came out, and he goes, "I'm not shutting you down. You're actually kind of smart." Kind of smart. That was like a huge compliment from Bill.
Huge compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, I don't know. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and I saw there's just people being innovative. My dad was in radio, so a couple guys in the radio station. They said, "Hey, let's get this thing together." And Elvis had just done his big Aloha Hawaii thing all around the world, and let's put live music on television. You know, let's bring some local artists, and these are radio guys. And next thing you know, we have Austin City Limits. And these guys have been doing it. It was just a concept that came out. And so those are the guys I admire. You know, and I realize we're way beyond TV and radio now, but how can you cross those media platforms? How can you bring out there? Nobody thought about putting Willie Nelson in 1974 with his guitar on television with public funding. That was innovative back then. Now you say Willie Nelson, you know. I mean, Willie Nelson in 74 wasn't a big deal then. Now it's kind of, you know, everybody knows who he is, even you, right? Okay. So those are the guys I admire. The guys say, hey, let's take this to a different level. Let's take a different form of distribution. Sure, it's being done way up here. Elvis could get on and do satellites and hit all over the world. But local, Austin, Willie Nelson, TV. Now we're going to, of course, you know, 5 years later, MTV came out and blew the world away. But the idea was there. So those are the guys. Look for that. You know, how can we cross? What's the new idea? What makes sense to reach the fan and make it easier for them?
I know my own grandfather was one of the guys who helped with parking back at the Ohio State Fair decades and decades and decades and decades ago. And one of the things he always used to say is, he said the artists were one of his biggest mentors and inspirations. And he had this great story about Dolly Parton bringing him onto the bus because he was trying to explain where to park. And she said, I don't even want to listen to this, you know, just get on my bus and tell us where to go, because she had been traveling for a while. And my grandfather, when he passed away, we found an autographed album of hers that was there of, you know, just a little thank you. And for him, it was this great story of, you know, this person reaches out and realizes the importance of the role that I'm playing. That parking person definitely does play a role because they're part of that experience and part of that support team. So you do see huge impact in those different pieces that the operations team will allow and the support that you see as you move forward. So I'm going to ask you guys kind of the reverse of the crystal ball question. With your histories in the industry, what are a few things that you didn't expect to happen that were either amazing or epically bad? What are a few things that you've learned over your decades that you would want to share with the audience as we start to wind down to take some questions?
I made a thing, we're doing a thing right now. Everyone wants to talk about the past. I'm like, it's the future. Mm-hmm. You know, everything's in the future and it's coming so quick. You know, I spend my life, I don't want to talk about the last 20 years of Warped Tour. I want to talk about how I'm going to get to the next 3 or 4 or 7 of them. As long as they let, you know, hobble around. I got new knees, I got surgeries, I got all kinds of crap. I can run around.
What are some things you look forward to then?
What I'm looking forward to is, you know, that most of you are going to be able to make a living in the music business. You know, again, it's a nice way to think, and it's not going to come out of LA. And how many of you want to go to LA and New York? Wipe it off your head. Put your hand down, okay? No, you know. How many of you want to go to Nashville? All right. That's, you know, 13 years ago I did a soundtrack with T-Bone Burnett. I did Oh Brother Where Art Thou Down from the Mountain. And I just ran into him and I go, he told me about the soundtrack and he goes, those are just punkers from the Appalachians. Bluegrass. Doesn't get radio, just like we don't get radio. Let me put a tour around this album. He had just started doing it. And I went to Nashville and I looked at it. And now I have a little office there. And that's town is happening, and it's not country music anymore. Those guys are just hanging on, the old country guys. It's rock, it's everything, and the innovation coming out of that city. If I was in my 20s and 30s right now, start looking to Nashville. That's where you're going to go make. And there's all the cool managers and agents and the guys I like doing business with, giving up on New York, giving up on LA because you can't afford to live there, and moving to Nashville. You can raise a family, you can live there. That whole idea of touring Thursday through Sunday, when I did my Country Throwdown tour, it made sense. You can take your kids to school on Monday morning. You know, you don't have to go on the road for 2 or 3 months in a row. But it's the crystal ball is being changed every day. There's things we're doing 3 years ago that are obsolete now. And but you guys have it's at your fingertips, guys. And I say making a living in the music business. That chance of becoming personally super enriched and worry about Laker tickets, front row, and the Knicks, like a lot of the guys that were my mentors, that's all they cared about mostly, is how much money they could make. Not there, but you could probably figure, a lot of you are going to figure out how to make a living in the music business. And if you ever, and there's mentors you should be looking for, the new ones, the ones that are your peers. Rise Records, Craig from Rise, Mike Kaminsky manages Somerset and those kind of bands. They're all building nice little businesses and have a nice little house, and they're cool and have a little money to go vacation once a year, but they're really, that's the new music business.
I think for us, like I said earlier, we a lot of the stuff the things that we do now were learned from mistakes, and it can be as simple as our lineup announcement. One of the things that we look at Bonnaroo is we try to make our lineup announcement its own event. We don't want to just put it out there. A lot of music festivals put their lineup just, there it is. At noon, here's the lineup. We made ours an event. We tried it a few years ago. We did this 10-hour long thing on MySpace. That was when MySpace was still MySpace. And people hated it. We got just killed by it. We looked at, we used to do this event called Moogfest in Asheville, North Carolina. And we came out with our ticketing concept, and we looked at our social media feedback, and everybody hated the way we were doing tickets because we were going to just sell a cheap weekend pass. That was the idea. And then anybody that wanted to go to an individual show could pay a small upgrade for each individual show. It was a terrible concept. It didn't work at all. So we went back and we changed it, and we learned from it, and then we've gone from there. We look at other festivals. We look at what other festivals are doing, what's made them successful. I go to festivals all the time to look for new ideas and look for new creative things. We go to shows all the time. We go check out artists. All of us are constantly going out and doing things to learn what other people are doing to keep that wheel going. I spend half my day on YouTube looking at stupid stuff on the internet for ideas. That's how I come up with a lot of the concepts for fan engagement at the music festivals that we do. Because ultimately, you go to any of these music festivals, and it's not the lineup is what gets you to go to the music festival. I always say this: the lineup gets you there. The experience keeps you coming back, and that's what we keep working on. So we have to come up with new experiences at the festivals, and we look at new things that suck at our festivals and go, we don't want to do it that way. We want to change it. So we noticed that people were getting up at 6 a.m. at Bonnaroo, one, because it's Tennessee and it's hot as hell and you can't sleep when you're in a tent. So you get up anyways, and people were running. People were exercising. They spent all day drinking, and then they were sweating out the booze, running the next morning. We started a 5K at Bonnaroo. We have an official 5K. So it's being observant while you're there and learning what people are doing and going, how can we take this failure on our end and make it better? Also, don't put pagan statue on a map when you're submitting for a permit.
One thing that surprises me, Keith Richards is still alive and touring. No, the longevity of some of the artists that started, even from not the 70s, but the 80s and 90s, that the longevity of their career that they've built on touring and playing, whether the record sales are here or have plummeted, they're still out there with the momentum. They're still out there touring. You can still go see, I don't want to mention a name, I might date them, but you still go see acts from the 70s and 80s that haven't sold 10,000 records since, but they're still touring and they're still selling out. They're still putting on a good live show. So to me, the Rolling Stones when are they gonna stop? I don't know. When Charlie gets tired, the Rolling Stones will stop.
Whenever they finally commit to Bonnaroo, I'm fine with that.
Well, one of the things that concept of being able to continue touring, do you have any secrets to success or any tips as far as surviving the festival world?
Give up on sleep.
Well, and I think we're going to see a weeding out of festivals. We have a festival culture in America now. Mm-hmm. We didn't have that. You guys are growing up in festival culture. But we're hitting this point of where, you know, and I have to say, you didn't announce Outkast, did you, on yours?
We did not.
Which I was very happy to hear. I love Outkast. I'm looking forward to seeing them at Coachella. But they were the one people, you know, Outkast, when Paul announced them, I thought, this is brilliant, getting them back together. But then they say they're going to play 40 festivals this summer. I mean, you know, the festivals that are going to survive are the ones that innovate or have a great location. That's what it was. I used to say, you know, Bamboozle was the most awesome festival coming out of winter up in New Jersey, the hotbed of Thursday, Taking Back Sunday, all this. It was a great festival. But as soon as they started moving it around, it lost all relevance. You know, Coachella is Coachella because you wake, you know, it's awesome out there. It's just beautiful, the desert feeling. Bonnaroo has really, like, you know, your city has embraced it, your campgrounds. But, you know, we're gonna have a saturation. I think this summer is gonna be a big weeding out of festivals this year.
I mean, you see them come and go. And I mean, as far as tips to success, it's being willing to adapt. It's being willing to advance, not sticking with your same model. And I also think it's being ready to be told no. Yeah. That's the big thing for anybody that wants a job in this industry. You're going to get rejected more times than you're going to get told yes, and it's the ability to keep moving forward. I mean, I've had a lot of interns over the last 8-9 years that expected, I got an internship with South by Southwest, or I got an internship with AC Entertainment, I'm going to get a job with these guys, and they don't. It just doesn't always work out. And it's being able to take that and going, okay, how can I use my experience to go on to the next thing? And really sort of making that the next motion. I mean, you mentioned ACL, a guy that volunteered for me for 4 years, started out in a very small, like it was a 100 capacity club called Beerland on Red River in Austin, Texas. He's now the production manager for ACL Live. And has taken that on because he tried for years to get work with us, and it never worked out. But he kept coming back, which motivates me as a person, as a potential employer, to go to my friends and go, hey, I don't have a job for this guy, but do you? So I think it's being able to keep on it when there's adversity going on.
And it's also, it's like, you know, if you see it waiting for a job, you know, a job message to come out to go get a job, there's 20,000 people looking at 2,000 people for the same job. All the jobs I hire now, I didn't even know I need to hire. It's one of you young people coming in, young people, I can say that now, that's awesome. God, I just sound like a grandpa there. But with you guys coming to me, and it's always some, you know, kids coming into my office and going, Kevin, you've got to get your shit together on your website. And it's always them coming in and telling me why I need to hire them. They've created a job that I need them to do. So start thinking that way. When you're looking at things, what is that company doing wrong that I have a solution for? And then you come talk to us, and then we go, wait, you're sharp. You've identified something within our thing. We need to hire you.
Just be gentle with our egos. We're sensitive.
No. Yes, but, you know, don't worry, I get beaten up every day on the internet. All I have to do is announce a band. I haven't booked a good one since '96 for some people, you know? So it's like, you know, it's all good. You know.
Right. Pace yourself when you go out there, but know what you know. You got to get out. I mean, honestly, instead of having an out night once or twice a week, I have a stay home night once a week because I'm out most of the time. So you got to be out there in the scene. At the same time, it doesn't mean that I have to go to 2 a.m. every morning. It doesn't mean that. So, but make those contacts and stay in touch and look for the open door. And that's you're going to survive. Is find the right thing for you, but don't walk away from an opportunity. And get your foot in the door. You know, sometimes it seems like if you've seen the King Kong movie, it seems like they open the big doors. There's King Kong. And you got to play with King Kong. You know, and you're going to get in there. But find your niche. Know what your passion is. That's what I like to hear is, hey, I can do everything. Okay, but what's your passion? Front a house, or running lights, or micing up a drum kit. That's cool. I need sound people, I need production people to help. I know that you have a passion about something very specific, that this is my thing. And, it might not be a fit right now. I might have a great light person, but I know that's your thing, but I know you can do other things. So opportunities come, or like I said, I know somebody that needs a light person. I know somebody who needs production, or, hey, if you can write a press release, oh my God. You know, because I don't want to write press releases. You know, and hey, I can do this. Like you said, I can do this for you. This is what you need. It's a good fit, and it's just looking for that thing that fits for you, but also saying, this is what I love. This is my passion, because that's what I want to hear. Because you know what? None of us can teach that, and it doesn't have a light switch. You don't just turn on passion when you walk across that stage. You have it now, and wherever that goes, that's what I want to hear. Is this is my passion? This is what I want to do. You know.
I know that back several years ago, I would come here. Okay, let's be real. Decades ago, I would come here and interview students, and I could see that passion when I was interviewing it. I didn't even have to really talk to them. I'd ask them a couple questions or whatever, but I could tell that because they were just. You just have that look, that light switch, like he's saying, and you just know it. So when you go and interview, when you make sure that you show that passion. Don't be rude. Don't be jumping in and cut. But just you can tell. So if I have to give a tip of some experience dealing with students at this great university, that's what I'd say. Because we came in and started a program where come in and interview for the show production students and talk to them, and a lot of them, hundreds, have literally made the touring world going through that process. So. That's all I got.
Well, I definitely appreciate all of the tips and advice thus far. I want to go ahead and give the opportunity to our audience to ask some great questions.
After what you guys were talking about, I kind of want to know, other than someone who has like innovative ideas, what qualities do you look for when you want to add someone specifically to your team, other than like just, of course, coming with great ideas, but what are you looking for when you want someone and you want them a part of your team?
I would look certainly for attitude, because if you have that will, I can teach you the rest. If you have that passion, the rest can be taught to you. So just make sure you have that. Go in with good attitude, network as much as you can, as we've been saying.
I know how to write press releases.
And a lot of it is being in the right spot at the right time. Yeah. And like I say, don't be sitting at home. You won't get a job sitting watching TV.
Yeah. I think, I do a lot of interviews, and some of this stuff that I always try to talk about is, at the end of the day, when everybody graduates, you're all going to have the same piece of paper. Everybody does. And it's, what else have you done? What other experiences have you gone after? What other sort of things have you gotten involved in? Even if it's just, I went to shows every night of the week. I went and experienced music. I went and experienced the industry that I want to work in. And then the biggest question that I ask, my interviews are 10 minutes long. I have my assistant time me. And if I hit 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, that's it. And I cut it off. Because in 10 minutes, I can get enough of a vision of what I think this person can do and whether or not I think they're worth bringing on to something. And the biggest question that I ask is, what is your favorite band and how do you describe their music? Because if you tell me my favorite band is Dave Matthews and it's kind of rock, but kind of jammy, a little folky every once in a while, that doesn't work for me. I want to hear you, like they've said, I want to hear you talk about your your favorite band like it's your child, like it means the most important thing to you in the world, because that's going to stand out to me more than I was top of my class and I went to school really well and I can write a good paper, any of that sort of stuff. Experience will be completely outweighed if you can answer that one question correctly and answer it with passion, like he mentioned.
Wish I had more time.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm also a show pro student. I'm wondering more about insurance that goes into your workers and your interns, and how about filling out insurance for all of that?
That's all my money because I gave the insurance companies the rest, okay? No.
What's the ballpark number that normally goes into that, though?
That's proprietary.
I mean, it is getting,
it's a lot.
It's really getting tricky. Did any of you see a lawsuit that just went down last week with Fishbone, Angela Moore, $1.4 million for jumping off a stage? Mm-hmm. And I think some of you guys follow me, and it's always that advent of, I'm trying to help. I want to help write a legislation like they had started for skateboarding. I'm starting this process right now and trying to get that moment to do it, where there's some assumption of risk in going to a concert. Now I have to stop getting Austin Carlisle to stop jumping off the stage, you know, and it's my job. So like literally this year, when you see Governor of the Warped Tour, you're going to see these signs. And I'm not putting them up in a big legal thing. I'm like, you jump off the stage, you get hurt, your mom sues, no more Warped. You know? I spend about, I don't know, right now I'm probably spending about 3-4 hours a week wading through. Like, my boy got mugged at the Warped Tour. We dig up through the videos, we see little Johnny in the Wall of Death, you know? But I have to get the bands to stop doing Wall of Deaths, you know? So I've stopped doing that, but we're really in a tricky time. We're, you know, everyone on our tours has insurance. We cover everyone with workman's comp, everyone on the road. But we're in this very, like, it's going to be a very delicate time. And, you know, I'm going to send, you know, I'm sitting with all the bands. I mean, I've got a couple bands that I haven't announced yet, so I can't say too much about it. That I told one of them, you know, don't fly all the way up from overseas and be on this tour this year if you're going to tell every kid to crowd surf like you did on our show. We're in a very tricky time. You know, the insurance business is you guys with, you know, liability. Everyone's layers and layers. But guess what they do now? They come and sue. This is how the lawyers make money.
Everyone.
And here's a good line. It was taught to me by a guy named Whitebread. He was a rapper named Whitebread, but also a lawyer. Lawyers don't make deals, they break deals. Okay, if you ever have to make a deal, the last thing you want to do is deal with a lawyer because they make it expensive, they make things work it out amongst each other, work it amongst yourselves. But now what they do is we all do an insurance paperwork, names everyone and everything. What the lawyers are coming in and they come in and sue not only the entity, but they sue Kevin Lyman, they sue Vans, they sue about 6 of us named as additionally insured. Then we all have to sit in a room with all these lawyers that are just making money, trying to figure out who should actually be sued and who shouldn't. And I'm on the phone with Live Nation. They got a lawyer. You know, we're all trying to figure this out. And ultimately, you know, it's really the thing that's going to put a nail in these things. You know, the word mosh now, if it comes up in a claim, the insurance company sometimes, we're not going to help you guys out.
Yeah, there are a lot of entertainment lawyers and entertainment insurance companies out there that you can look into that can help with those sort of things. I mean, basically, everybody has to have insurance, and everybody has their own individual insurance, and then every company has a blanket insurance policy that will cover the whole thing. But, you know, that way you're covering yourself. You know, if a semi-truck rolls over somebody on accident, your entire event is not getting sued. The semi-truck company is getting sued. And they'll sue
they'll
still sue everybody.
I mean,
they're still going to.
You know, we had the singer of All American Rejects threw one of those monster water cans off the stage. He hit a girl in the head. We took care of all the medical and all that. They sued everyone, including Monster, saying that they encourage the bands to throw these cans to the fans. You know, and it's money, time, what we love to do. It just drags us all down.
Yeah, there's a reason why McDonald's coffee cups say it's hot.
And I feel incredibly awkward chiming in right now as the entertainment attorney on the panel, but I feel very safe being at this end of the table. I deal with the transactional side. I'm a lover, not a fighter, so I'm the writer, not the suer, needless to say. But you're seeing a lot of contracts come into play as well. You see as an example, with a halftime show a few years ago when MIA stepped up and wanted to teach everybody a little sign language. You saw the network very quickly say, we're not even going to sweat it because built into the contract, if you do something unsavory, thank you, Janet Jackson, it falls on the artist. So contractually, she can do her thing. She gets fined. We don't even deal with it. It's passed through. So you have to look pretty closely at the contracts. You see a lot of different steps being taken, not only on the language with the tickets, but also with the language as far as bookings, and certain venues are going to put restrictions in place. You can go see the most calm band in the world at our Hard Rock venue in town here, and you're still going to see a sign that says no moshing, because they want to make sure you don't go to an Adele show and start a mosh pit. So they have it all over, no crowd surfing, nothing. So they're going to permanently have that up there because their insurance, that's one of the mandates. So you have to look closely at what the coverage is and what the contracts say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Billy Perry. I'm a recording arts major. I was seeing if there's any insight you can shed on setting up permits for a festival, and what are some things I can expect when going through this process?
It's going to take you a long time. You got to start with there's a million permits that you have to find, and it's usually going to whatever that local city or local government is and finding out. It's amazing. We've actually screwed ourselves sometimes by being so good about our permitting process that actually the city of St. Augustine created a special events permit because of us. Because we said, this is all the stuff we do, and they're like, oh, that barbecue festival that we did 2 weeks ago didn't do any of this. And now that barbecue festival's probably not going to happen.
They hate you.
Yeah, they probably hate us now. But yeah, you have permits on the city level, you have permits on the state level, and then national permits, and then as well individual permits for each individual person. Every concessions vendor has to have a health permit, and it has to be on display. All those sort of things are it's a giant logistical nightmare that you have to sort of wade through, and that goes back to your good relationship with the city.
And you also find that as municipalities their budgets have been cut and everything, they've created many more permits to make up that money.
Yeah. Live sound permit. And
it's just rolls and rolls. And you can imagine on 43 cities how many permits we're pulling on the Warped Tour. Every tent you see, sometimes in cities, those 10 by 10s, needs a permit.
Yep.
Every tent, everything, and it's mind-boggling how much paperwork that I pretty much have people on the road just dealing with paperwork, permits. They're already dealing with them for next summer right now.
Yeah.
So basically, like every inch of the festival, we're looking at getting
fencing, lights, sound, stage. If you're gonna have golf carts, if you're gonna have moving vehicles, if you're gonna have security, any of that sort of stuff, all requires a permit.
But one time I had a festival where the guy wanted me for a lighting company. They got me backstage at a Lollapalooza show and said, we want a permit for every light fixture. But we had 20,000 people between him and his car. And I said, if I have to go up on stage right now and tell him why we're not doing a show, I bet you get killed. And he backed down and walked away. But you have to go for it sometimes.
City manager, fire marshal need to be your best friends.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Michael Hawkins. I'm in the Recording Arts program. I have a quick question. With all artists, at some point in time in the career, they always make the same statement. This is all because of the fans, or I love my fans, or this is why all this happens. And then when you go to a festival, it doesn't seem very common that you see an artist getting outside to meet his fans, or a group going out to meet their fans. It seems a little bit unfair because I drove this distance away from my normal life to pay money to see you play. I'd like to also see you out there mingling with your fans. And they have that opportunity because they're there in person. They're not on VH1 or MTV. They're not on the Ellen DeGeneres show talking about what they do and why they do it. So any ideas there on how to maybe not make it mandatory for fans to go, or for artists to go meet their fans, but kind of push them in that direction?
If you're not out meeting fans at the Warped Tour, you probably won't get booked again.
Okay, that's honest. a good policy. I like that.
Because I always tell the bands, a handshake lasts a lot longer than a single. Mm-hmm. And if you shake someone's hand out there and sign something, and now the signings at Warped Tour sometimes get so massive we do have to cut them off because you got lines and people, and it's crazy. But it is important. I say that's gonna make your career go a lot longer. Mm-hmm. When you have to go back and you don't have that single, or you don't have that big, and you go to that town, you know what? The person sees your name. It's like, you're coming to my town. I got to go support you. You shook my hand. So in the world we live, I think the whole world of Warped and Mayhem and something, we even got the metal bands that used to not go out and sign, to go out and sit in that Rockstar tent. Now, a lot of those big corporate signings, they get money. That helps. I help them offset tour support that they don't get from their labels. They get, when I do a corporate sponsorship deal, we carve off artist fees. So when they're sitting out there for Kia, it's not because they love Kia. It's because they're getting actually some trade, and that usually helps pay for their gas or their bus to get down the road.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Shia. I'm a music business student, and my question is mainly for Kevin, but anybody can pitch in. I'm just thinking, you said you are always looking for the next headliner, and I know that some years you put bands, you take them from the regular stage and you move them up to the main stage. Is that like you testing them out, and then what do you look for when you do put them up on the main stage?
Well, the good thing for me is I still write that schedule every morning. I don't have to talk to agents and things. Now on my metal tour, it's like who goes when and this, but I write that schedule every morning, and when I'm starting to see who's going to bubble up for the next year, maybe, I'm going to start putting them in situations where I think they're going to get the most exposure. I'm going to put them up against a challenge. I used to put Katy Perry up right after Bring Me the Horizon, side-by-side stages, and we taught her how to be a live performer. She'll still come and say that Warped Tour taught her to be a live act. So when I want to push a band, I'll put them in situations to see how they handle them.
Oh.
And then that main stage, it's usually a nice rotation. I try to get some bands, but later in the summer, you might see some bands go up there a little bit more.
Yeah.
As I'm trying to.
I just know, like last year, I did the Tampa and Orlando date, and like at Tampa, I saw set it off on Kevin Says, and then Orlando, they got moved up to main stage like 5 minutes before doors, but still.
I like to do that too, test to see how quickly they can get their gear across that parking lot.
I think for us, it's a variety of reasons why a band gets on a certain stage, whether it's the main stage or a secondary stage. It's how big of an audience do we expect they're going to have, and then a lot of times what we do is when we do our schedules for the festivals is we do what we call tracks, and we look at it as if you're going to watch Kanye West as the headliner of Bonnaroo, if that's the show you're going to see on Friday, what is the rest of your day going to look like? And ideally, we want you moving around the festival. We want you going all over the place and checking out shows as much as possible, because as you're going through the festival, you're experiencing everything else that we've set up. Whether it's the sponsors that have paid for their activations in the middle of the site, it's concessions, it's all that other sort of stuff. We want you to go and experience it. So we try to get in your head a little bit and build your festival schedule for you. And sometimes we're completely wrong, because there's people that are going to camp out in front of Kanye West and watch whatever is going on before him, no matter what. And that can be good too, because then you're discovering new artists that you maybe weren't expecting. And that can be really cool.
Okay. Thank you.
If you ever get to that one, Beebs, no, we won't do it here, but you can ask Beebs about her one time I put her on the main. You're not supposed to ask me to go up to the main stage. Of course, she doesn't know better and doesn't know anything better, but she just does it, which is kind of getting her to where she's going right now. And she walks up to, I think, the first day and goes, "When do I get to go on the main stage?" I go, "You're lucky you're out here." But then again, I just decided, like, okay, I'm going to give her I think I gave you 5 minutes to get to the main stage then. And you didn't even know where it was. No. And I said, "You're on in 5 minutes." Just, okay. So.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Hi, how are you guys doing? My name is Matt Martinez. I'm in the recording arts program. Touching back upon, looking forward in the future and not so much looking back, I kind of want to know where you guys see the future of the festival industry going. As far as because every year you think, this festival topped it off. They added something to this festival. Oh, nobody can top it now. What's next? Where do you guys see it going? Like, you have Warped Tour with, the half pipe and everybody skating, but that's been going on for a while. And then you have Bonnaroo adding the 5K, like you said. So right now it seems like that's the top, and that's as high as you can go. Where's it going to go next? Where do you guys see it going?
I think the minute we fail is the minute we stop thinking we can't go any further. We're always trying to come up with new ideas of how to take advantage of whatever festival it is, whether it's Bonnaroo or some of our smaller festivals even, is creating unique fan experiences. And that's the more important thing, is like I said, the lineup gets you to come, it's the experience that you have that gets you to keep coming back. And so we are constantly trying to improve those experiences, whether it's upgrades in the campgrounds or we have hours-long meetings about porta potties, and trying to come up with a better way to take a dump, and it's you have to constantly evolve and constantly create new concepts, and sometimes they fail. I mean, we beta test a new idea every year at Bonnaroo, and we always start with a small version, and then we're like, okay, this was really successful. Let's blow it up next year and make it huge. Right now, we experience through the RFID technology. We learned that at any point in time, over 20,000 people are out in the campgrounds. So we needed to focus on our campground setup. We needed to make that more of an experience than just a place to sleep. So we started developing these things called pods, which are the center of each. We have 11 of them throughout the campsite where they're central areas. It's where the showers are. It's where you can go get medical attention if you need anything like that. But we're actually developing concepts for each of the pods. So we get requests a lot of times for people to get married at Bonnaroo. We get that constantly. And so we created a place for people to do that out in the campgrounds. We created a library and coffee pod last year. That was our beta test. And we had a book exchange and all this other sort of stuff out there. Now we're taking that and making it bigger. So I think at any point in time, if we ever say, this is the top, this is the best we can do, we will shut down. We're all
challenged with making sponsors happy, things like that. So you're just talking about the porta potties. This is going to be funny because I'm always trying to outthink it. So I go, girls at the Warped Tour, it gets a little messy out there. So Tampax, like they were interested in music this year. So I've created this whole plan that maybe we're going to have them finance a nicer toilet for you guys. One of those nicer trailers. We'll test it, you know? But that was like my idea. Like, you know, it was like, okay, we're going to try to do this, but, you know, because Warped Tour gets a little messy out there.
The whole world's a little messy when it comes to a music festival.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mario, and I'm in music business. And I was wondering, do you think streaming music festivals will be an ongoing trend in this scene, or do you think it can actually deter people from going to the festival itself?
No, you can't replace the live music experience. You can't, and that's what they thought they were going to do, but it doesn't. The only thing makes so. I'm sorry, but we're actually going to stream the first Warped Tour show this year. First time ever, going to stream it. But instead of all any marketing, you won't see TV things for Warped Tour. We're all this, so we're going to stream it the first day, cut it up into little pieces immediately. We're going to edit it on the spot, and then send that content out and use that content all day all year, you know, all summer as a marketing tool for the rest of the summer. I mean, you know, because you can't replace the fun weather of Warped Tour and all that experience and your social activity and entertainment. You know, you got to be there with people. You know, years ago they told us when the first .com world came along, they told me I was going to live in this virtual world and put on concerts and live in Warped World. It's like, you know, and it was like, I said, it's never going to happen. So it's a combination of technology and the live experience. You're never going to replace the live experience. It's how we embrace the new technologies to encourage more people to come and be part of what we do.
Until you could download the T-shirt for free. No, I think you're right. The streaming is going to be another revenue stream. It's just going to enhance the live. I mean, and technology.
Can you tell me how to make money? I'm spending a lot on mine.
It's pretty expensive.
So I think we have to look at it that way. It's not a threat. We take advantage of technology. Technology is getting. I mean, what you have here, we used to pay $1,000 a day for to get this kind of sound and this kind of video in the '80s. So yeah, the technology is there, and there's so much easier ways to deliver, but it's only going to be another revenue stream. You're right. It's never the live music experience. Just like buying the T-shirt, it's going to stay. It's going to stay.
If you sit there and you watch Bonnaroo live, we live stream Bonnaroo, and if you're sitting there and you're watching it live at home on your computer, you're going to be pissed that you're not there.
Right.
You want to be there. So the next year you're going to save your money. You're going to build up the flow, the cash flow to be able to attend Bonnaroo, or you're going to volunteer, which I hope you all do.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Antonio. Kevin, you just mentioned that there is now a festival culture in America. Do you think this is because the superfan concept is going away and people rather put their value on money on festivals instead of one band concert?
Absolutely, yeah. You're looking at it now. You know, if you go back and look at the sheds, the amphitheaters across the country, they used to do 30 and 40 shows a summer. A lot of them are doing 8 shows now. It's a safe bet for an artist to play a festival because you're never really blamed if the tickets don't sell. You can go out and make new fans. It's going to be unique because it's hard for me even because I'm calling them the 91-day festivals now because Warped Tour radius clause, you're not supposed to play in a market 9. There's like mini Warped Tours popping up all over the country 91 days out from when the Warped Tour starts. And I had to go to a bunch of the agents and say, look, you can do it in LA, you can do it in this, but I take you to Albuquerque, I take you to Kansas City. So we still need Warped Tour. There's got to be a place for you. We take it where you can't do these festivals, but it's a safe bet to be on festivals. And there's artists now that are building their whole careers on being on festivals. You know, they don't even tour really. They go do the first festival circuit.
I mean, look at Outkast. They're playing 40 music festivals.
What do you think about the engagement that a fan has now with getting less from more bands? Yeah. I mean, at a festival, you get not complete sets, for example.
What they'll probably go out, and I'm seeing it more and more, they'll go play the festivals, and then they'll go kind of do a safe underplay tour. They'll do club tours. They'll do things. They're not trying to go out and do these big things themselves. The cost of touring, you know. I mean, the production cost, and everything's being managed very closely. I mean, your margins are, well, you're not, but the margins of the sound companies now, they were forced to keep up with the technologies. Every sound guy wanted the best Midas desk, the best this desk, and everyone's this. And then they don't want to pay for it. You know, like I always say, the prime example in production is
I'll second that, by the way.
It took us 20 years for a tour bus to cost $500,000. Okay, to go buy a normal tour bus, about $500,000. It was 5 years until the average bus was $750,000 because everyone wanted all the gizmos, but no one then when the bottom fell out of the music industry, but no one wants to, they don't understand, they don't need an $800 a day bus or $650 a day. They want to pay $400, so you got a bunch of bus companies that can't afford to keep that technology up. And technology outran what anyone could pay for it, and now especially.
I think the smarter artists are using festivals as a way to sort of build their fan base. And that way when they do want to go on tour, or if they want to route through in between tours, they can sell those tickets in those other cities, the smaller market cities where they're not going to do. I mean, we look at any of our festivals that we do, Bonnaroo, Forecastle, anything like that, we're a concert promoter. That's our main job. Festivals is not our main business. We actually promote concerts. We do 750 concerts a year. And we like to route bands into our festivals. So we'll get smaller plays. Like you said, we'll get those underplay gigs to get the bands at the festival so they can play for a huge audience, and then that huge audience goes home. And then we take that band to their hometown.
And then the radius clauses on some of those big festivals are 6 months, 4 months, things like that. You can't really tour. It's hard to, if you're going to play those big festivals, you're kind of committed your play in that market unless they give you an underplay like Coachella and Bonnaroo. Like Coachella, all the bands that go play all the clubs around between those 2 weekends, but they can't really tour that market for that whole year pretty much around it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Randall Allen. I'm with the film program here at Full Sail. My question is, with everything that goes into a music festival or a live production in general, what methods of organization do you use to keep everything such as contracts, negotiations, permits, artists, all of that together?
Hiring good people.
Yeah.
It's being able to delegate. If we were to try, I mean, the Bonnaroo staff at AC Entertainment is 6 people. That's it. There's 6 of us that go and work at Bonnaroo on behalf of the festival. We bring in other staff to help manage that. That's from our artist liaisons that are helping manage all the artists on the stage. We have production managers who then hire other additional people. We oversee the festival when we're doing it. So it's bringing in the right people that can manage those different organizational types of things. We have a guy that just does contracts. That's all. That's his job. I could never do his job. But that's what he does, is he deals with all the contracts. So it's creating steps, creating procedures for how you go through each individual things. I mean, we have a blanket timeline that we can easily apply to any festival, but then we customize it to that individual festival that says this is how we're going to handle it at this event, because every event that we do is different in scale and size. We own Bonnaroo, we own the site, so we can do a lot of things year round that we can work on. Forecastle, we rent the park. We're there for a week. That's it. We build it. We take it down as soon as it's over. I mean, you experience that with every stop you do.
Yeah,
you're in a different place.
Yeah, I mean, you said 6 seems like the magic number. That's my whole company that does all those, Warp, Mayhem, all the projects. We have 6 people that work for me, and everything else I'm outsourcing or pulling in for the moment, pulling in for the tours. So it's building that good thing, and you guys are going to find that a lot. You're going to find a good niche, and there's good niche people, like you said. The guy who parks at all these venues, because there are so many festivals. If they're good, all the other festivals will hire them.
Yep.
And now there's streams that do press, do all these things that just go from festival to festival to festival and work, for that week for this company, and then they can go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, our catering manager at Bonnaroo, she's in charge of catering at Bonnaroo. At Forecastle, she's in charge of an activation we call the Bourbon Lodge. She's Coachella's front gate manager.
Yeah.
Her name is Jennifer Ellington.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they go. You find these people that can go from festival to festival to festival because they do a good job, and those are the people that we keep bringing back to help us manage those areas, so that we can oversee them and the managers can actually control them.
Yeah.
Thank you for the great question. Thank all of you for attending. I want to give special thanks to our panelists. Thank you, James, Kevin, Richard, and Jerry, for all of your insights. I appreciate all of the wisdom you could share with our students today. So I want to thank everyone. Have a great day.